Welcome to Starting Ohio Legal Research with Ohio Jurisprudence and Practice Materials. This is one of the Law Library Research Certificate Seminars presented during the fall semester 2016. Secondary sources are great places to start research. They can help you get grounded in an area of law. They include encyclopedias, books or treatises, such as practice materials, journal articles, and more. Secondary sources educate you about an area of law. They discuss, analyze, evaluate, and interpret primary sources. They also cite primary sources and authorities such as cases, laws and statutes, and regulations. They reveal legal terms and phrases you may want to use when searching print indexes and databases. Lastly, many secondary sources, primarily loose leaf services, journals, and blogs, also keep you updated on legislative and regulatory developments, judicial opinions, news, and more. Bonus features of practice materials are that they include finding aids and cross-references, drafting guides, checklists, and sample forms. Now, one thing to consider with your research always is to look at the benefits of print versus the benefits of electronic. Print resources can often be more cost-effective and easier to use. They include an index, table of contents, and finding aids. However, electronic resources are usually more current, and they have the benefits of document links and the capability of downloading, copying, and pasting. But you should remember that many print resources include a CD with forms. To give a bit of a frame of reference to the resources we'll be discussing, here's a brief research scenario. Let's say you're working with a client who is divorced and paying child support for his son and daughter. His former wife has remarried. Her new husband is very wealthy and very happy to provide substantial monetary support for her children. Your client and his former wife have a good relationship and want to change their child support agreement. How will you help your client to do this? This is Ohio Jurisprudence, a multi-volume encyclopedia of Ohio law published by West. The Law Library has the print version of this, and it's available on Westlaw. OJUR is on Lexis Advance too, but because it is not a West publication, it does not include links to resources only available on Westlaw. When you use OJUR, you want to look at its general index for keywords related to your legal issue. Considering our research scenario, the general index leads us to support of children and its subheading, modification or change, with references to several OJUR family law sections. Here on the left is one of the sections the OJUR general index referred us to, Family Law Section 1232, effect of greater than 10% variance in support amount. This section discusses the court's recalculation of support in accordance with a statutory schedule and applicable worksheet, as well as the requirement for modification if the recalculated amount is 10% higher or 10% lower than existing support amount. This section includes citations to Ohio Revised Code section cases, West key numbers, and Ohio practice materials. When using Ohio jurisprudence, it's a good idea to look at the table of contents for the chapter that includes the specific section the general index referred you to. Here on the right is a portion of the table of contents for family law in OJUR that includes our section 1232. Beyond what the index refers to, you may see additional helpful sections in a table of contents. For example, here note that section 1234 is on the effect of remarriage. Ohio jurisprudence includes finding aids, such as a table of laws and rules. If you know Ohio Revised Code sections for a legal issue, you can use this table to find relevant sections in Ohio jurisprudence. Ohio Domestic Relations Law is a 2-volume title within the group of Ohio practice materials published by West. The print version of this title includes a CD, and this title is available on Westlaw. You would search its index for keywords related to your legal issue. Considering our research scenario, the index leads us to child support and its subheading modification of order with references to a couple of sections. Here on the left is one of the sections Ohio Domestic Relations Law Index referred us to, section 19.18, modification of prior orders, change of circumstance. This section discusses, but in much more detail than OJER, the court's recalculation of support in accordance with statutory schedule and applicable worksheet, as well as the requirement for modification if the recalculated amount is 10% higher or 10% lower than the existing support amount. This section includes citations to cases and Ohio Revised Code sections. Here on the right is the table of contents for Ohio Domestic Relations Law Chapter 19, which includes section 19.18. Again, beyond what the index refers you to, you may see additional helpful sections in a chapter's table of contents. Ohio Domestic Relations Law includes finding aids such as a table of law and rules. Again, if you know Ohio Revised Code sections for your legal issue, you can use this table to find relevant sections in Ohio Domestic Relations Law. Ohio Domestic Relations Law includes forms. This is Form 19:20.50, Uniform Domestic Relations Form 25. This is a motion for change of child support, medical support, tax exemption, or other child-related expenses, and memorandum in support. Since this print title has an accompanying CD, you could edit this form within your word processing software. Anderson's Ohio Family Law is a 2-volume title within the group of Ohio practice materials published by LexisNexis. The print version of this title includes a CD, and this title is also available on Lexis Advance. Search its index for keywords related to your legal issue. And considering our research scenario, the index leads us to support of children and its subheading, modification of order, with references to several sections. Here on the left is one of the sections the Anderson's Ohio Family Law Index referred us to, section 27.6, modification of support order. This section discusses, again in much more detail than what is in OJER, the court's recalculation of support in accordance with statutory schedule and applicable worksheet, as well as the requirement for the modification if recalculated amount is 10% higher or 10% lower than the existing support amount. This section includes citations to cases and Ohio Revised Code sections. Here on the right is the table of contents for Anderson's Ohio Family Law Chapter 27, which includes section 27.6. Again, beyond what the index refers you to, you may see additional helpful sections in a chapter's table of contents. Anderson's Ohio Family Law also includes forms. This is Form 27.01, Motion to Modify Child Support. Again, since this print title has an accompanying CD, you could edit this form within your word processing software. Now I want to show you, I'm going to come to the Law Library page because I want to show you some research guides that could be helpful to you for looking for secondary sources and forms and practice materials. We have one guide, Forms and Practice Materials, that's fairly obvious. But then if you're looking for specific Ohio secondary sources, this guide includes a practice book tab. And so you'll get some of our key resources here. Now I want to show you some of the resources we talked about in the electronic services. This is Westlaw, and I'm going to click on State Materials here, and then Ohio. And here you can see all the different resources here for Ohio, and we have secondary sources. Of course, is OJER, and then there is the Baldwin's Ohio Practice Series. What I'm going to do here is put in a brief search statement. And let's discuss this reach statement very briefly here. I've put in child with the truncation symbol, /2, meaning within 2 words of, and support with the truncation symbol there. So we're going to get varying forms of this: child, children, support, supporting, etc. That is one of our concepts. And then I'm saying I want within the same paragraph, I want modify or change, and again I've truncated those to get the varying forms of those words. And we'll go ahead and search this. Okay, and then we have secondary sources here. It's quite a lot, 10,000. But what we're going to do here, under the secondary sources, is we're going to select a particular publication name. And I'm going to look at the domestic relations law, and then also ask for OJR. Continues. Apply filters. So we're down to over 330 sources here. So some of these look fairly familiar, huh? So here we have our section 1232 from OJR. Now, one of the nice things that Westlaw does is that when you get to a secondary source like this, it will list some selected topics here, which is a nice report on this issue that includes primary and secondary sources. And then it lists out some specific secondary sources, briefs, and some trial court documents. And that can be really helpful to you. So, in fact, let's just open this up so you can take a look at this. This is this very nice report. Okay, it's on modifying and increasing weekly child support obligation. A lot of nice things here. Cases, statutes, briefs, some additional secondary sources. So think about that. Think about looking at these selected topics here when you pull up some secondary sources. Now here you can see we have links to our West key numbers, treatises and practice aids, trial strategy materials, that's the AMJUR proof of facts. Okay, and then we have the nice article, and then again, all of these hot links to our citations, cases, etc. So, I'm going to go back to our filtered search results here. Okay, here's that nice section from the Ohio Domestic Relations Law. We looked at this in print earlier. Again, you have your nice selected topics, secondary sources here, citations to some additional treatises and practice aids, the very good article, and of course the really nice links. Now, just to let you know, right off the bat, if you know you want to look at OJR, you can come back to the big box and start typing your title, and the word wheel will display some matches, and you can go ahead and just click right on that. Okay, and so you can search here, but you can also browse the different contents here. For instance, if we go down to family law, you can open that up, and you start seeing all the different sections here. Here we have Part 3 on parents and children and support of family. So let's look at similar resources here in Lexis Advance. And not in the same way, but similarly, there are some tabs here at the beginning. We can select state, and then Ohio, and then we can scroll down, and there's cases, statutes, secondary materials, etc. Okay, here I'm going to select all Ohio treatises, practice guides, and jurisprudence. Okay, and then I'm going to put in that same search again, the truncation of child within 2 of support, and truncate that as well and say we want this in the same paragraph as modify or change. Okay, so we have over 490 items. And let's sort of limit our sources here, do some post-filtering here, and we'll select Ogier and Anderson's family law. Okay, so now we're down to a little over 290. And here is that section 1232 from Ogier family law. Now, here's some important notes here. It's the same article, the text is not changed, but again note there are no hot links for your West key numbers. ALR, which is published by West now, no hot links to that, CJS, etc. But within the footnotes, yes, you will have hot links to the Ohio Revised Code and case sections. Okay. And let's go back to our filtered search results. And I'm going to just limit this right off the bat to the Anderson's Ohio family law. Let's go back again, similarly to Westlaw. If you know you just want to search, Ogier or a title right off the bat, you can just start typing it, and the word wheel will come up. And you can connect to that. And again, as before, you can open up the various sections and browse there to the different sections. Okay, so this concludes our seminar on using Ohio jurisprudence and practice materials for starting your Ohio legal research. Thanks for your attention.